This is the Seahawkers podcast, live and uncatfished. I'm Brandan Schultz, and today I am joined by my good buddy Clinton Bonner. I know this is live and uncatfished. If Adam were here, Clinton, it would be heavily uncatfished.
Well, yeah, it's okay, Brandon, because it's cool that we decided to get on pregame. We don't usually do a pregame show. It's not our thing on Sundays, but today we're doing a pregame show, right? Because game hasn't happened yet. That wasn't real, right, Brandon? That wasn't real. What we just witnessed, was it?
I would hope that it was not real, because I have been saying make it stop, make it stop, make it stop for maybe the last, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it was rough. I know we're going to talk about it quickly today. And for the brave souls that come in to watch this, you're sicker than we are. What can I tell you?
Welcome, Ravens fans, to your post-game we told you so from any kind of comments that we may have had that was in the positive about our Seahawks leading up to this game.
Yeah, we're gonna get roasted on YouTube, and you know what? We deserve it. It wasn't even like we were talking that much ish, if you will. However, they were bold and they were brazen, and we chip back at them. And what can you say? But they as Adam's honor, they molly-whopped us up and down the field in every single aspect of this game. It was, I would say, I don't know what it felt like to be a Broncos fan, like when we beat them 43-8, but it probably felt something like this, but just more meaningful because it is a Super Bowl, and They got Bruno Mars, which is cool.
Yeah, and imagine also being a Broncos fan in that 70 to whatever beatdown, 37 points is pretty rough to take. Could you imagine having an offense hang 70 on your defense?
I'm not sure it matters.
After it's like with really, really cold weather. After about 20 below, it just all feels really, really cold.
Yeah, my dad would always say, and he still does, he'd be like, if you get caught in the rain or something like that, he'd be like, well, you can only get so wet. That's it. You are as wet as you're gonna get. So I feel like 37 points on the road where we just have nothing is about as wet as I want to get for this year of our Seahawks, man.
Our Ryan 911 coming in as the live executive producer with a $9.99 super chat. Rough game, on to the next. Let's go.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. That's you are consistent, so we appreciate you. That's amazing. And yes, as we put on disgusting on screen there on YouTube, this was gross, and I'm sure there's things we do want to get into. We'll talk about it all as the week goes on. But Brandon, is there anything if it was hey, what's the one? I know there's many things that failed us, but it was the one thing that stood out to you, I guess, more than anything. That was just that was dreadful.
I think the thing that really doomed us early was just a big part of it was offensive struggles early. I thought that coming into this game, especially after last week against the Browns, that they would have another clear game plan against another tough Ravens defense. And early on, you could see that it really didn't. They were trying the run, then they got away from that. Then, the offense was not clicking, and we saw 3 or 4 straight punts on either side of the ball. And you say, oh yeah, great for the defense. But then the thing is I think against this Ravens team, you have to try and get points up early, because if it, like we've seen with the script flipped against this Ravens offense, as soon as they start racking up points, then they have that firepower to just wear down your defense, especially through the run game. And with their ability to put up, 300 yards plus rushing on the day. There's no way to stop that once an offense gets going that way.
Yeah, big woof for sure. Yeah, this to me felt like the second week in a row where we lost up the gut consistently, just over and over again. And it's not the only reason we got crushed in this game. There were other reasons. With that though, we could not get a push when we tried to run the ball early. The JSN drop on the first drive was brutal, just brutal. I mean, I hate to say, that changed the game, but it changes the start of the game. That's for sure. And then just defensively, man, a second week in a row, a team was able to run directly, basically through the guards, like in between between the guards, which is tough. Very tough to see that. There are parts in this game when we were down 14, no, down 17, right? At the half, it was 20-3. Is that correct? Or 17-3?
It was
17-3.
17-3, and then the
Yeah.
Seahawks got the turnover.
Yeah.
And then they played that aggressively to try and get points, and then it ended up resulting in the Geno fumble, which put them into field goal range, and then down 20-17 or 23 at halftime.
Yeah, when it was that score and we had already had 2 turnovers, I was like,
yeah,
it's getting later.
And the Ravens got the ball coming out of the half.
Yeah,
we've got Carly Perkins coming in. Is Adam too upset to be here live? No, Adam was on the road. Hang this loss on Adam because he has not worked on a Sunday throughout the season. It's the first season they do, and what happens? The Seahawks get blown out. This game, we can blame Geno, we can blame the defense, we can blame Shane Waldron. I choose to blame Adam because he's not here.
Well, and then we got to all bear that responsibility. We want Adam out of the mill, and of course, Adam comes on and talks about how everybody, the community, can help make sure Adam doesn't have to go to the mill. So in a way, this is on all of us for not chipping in quite enough. Our $1.05 to make sure that Adam can get his butt out of the mill. So
cost of freedom, $1.05.
It ain't free, right? So it costs $1.05. And this so this morning I'm like a 5-hour drive. Talk about 5. I'm a 5-hour drive from Baltimore. And this morning I was like, oh, should I? And I just couldn't, because I had to get a kid to a lesson. And I couldn't quite get my own self out of that way. But because of the clocks went back, I woke up at like 5:30 because I usually get up at like 6:30. So I'm up and I'm like, man, I could get to Baltimore like right now if I just hop in the car and go. And it was a bit of a split decision. And I was like, you know what? I really just shouldn't do this. I got crap to do. Boy, am I glad I called that guy, right? I ditched that one because that would have been a lonely ride home, Brandon.
Okay, Lively with a YouTube deep cut here because, yes, I think I texted both you and Adam on Friday. If anybody here watches That's Good Sports on YouTube, Brandon Perna has a curse wheel that he spins each and every week, and it lands on the team in their spot on the power ranking, and that team ends up being cursed for the coming weekend. And I think it hit the Chiefs last week ahead of the game against the Broncos, which, with Brandon Perna being a Broncos fan, he was super happy about that. The Chiefs get a 6-point win. And then this week, the curse wheel lands on the Seahawks, and Kale pointing it out here. So yes, the curse wheel from That's Good Sports also hitting the Seahawks hard this week.
Wow, that's the Madden cover of the digital age, it appears, man. Holy shnikes. To go back to back with those 2 games, it's something. It's something. So Brandon, I was thinking, I don't know about you, man. What's happening with Charles Cross? Like, what are we like in terms of pass blocking? He seems to be getting beat a lot. I know this is a good Baltimore team.
Mm-hmm.
Is he where you want him to be at this point? Is that a lead? Is it too much of a leading question? Is it just a bad game? You chalk it up to, a second-year dude who's been dinged. What do you think? I know there was blame to go around, but it seemed a little glaring on the left side.
It's interesting. Out of all the places on the offensive line that I thought were the worst, I guess Cross wouldn't have been the place that I would have gone. I mean, we saw everybody get beat, and so which leads me to, it just is the overwhelming nature of that Baltimore Ravens defensive line that this Seattle team didn't have an answer for. So, I mean, we saw D-Lou get beat. We saw penalties even by Evan Brown that killed a nice play when they were trying to come back.
Did we see penalties? We saw a flag. And then they're like, oh, there's a flag. There's a flag there. And of course, they never showed it.
They didn't show it. They did. I don't even think that they put the ref on the announcement on television, which was interesting. That usually doesn't happen. But I guess I took their word for it because there were so few penalties. It just seemed like I would go ahead and accept that they did in fact see a penalty, and I can't even get mad at penalties because, one, there were so few and they had zero impact on the game overall.
it would not have mattered, right? If that Ken Walker decent run was not penalized. Yeah, that is the truth, right? We just got our lunch handed to us over and over again. Yeah.
You got to love this question by Matthew Crawford, though. How many turnover worthy
Yeah.
plays did Geno have?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. One is from what I saw. Really, I mean, he's got to take shots. Also, I know it's a joke because he's watching the show earlier. We talked
Yeah.
about that being a garbage stat, so I get the satire and I enjoy it. So thank you, Matthew. But if I'm answering it honestly, I guess that's a good pivot too. It's like this is just inflaming and putting this huge divide between Seahawks fans on like Geno or no Geno, and I don't know, man. I just can't watch that game as a whole and be like, oh, that's on the quarterback. I just can't. He has what time does he have? Like there's drops, there's dudes in his face in like less than 2.5 seconds, 2.2 seconds. And the Ravens are another really good defense that disguise stuff really, really well. And then kind of just surprise you. But I mean, overall, like what quarterback would have done good today? Like seriously, what quarterback would have had a good game today?
Yeah, when you get Kenneth Walker, 9 attempts, 16 yards, Zach Charbonnet. I know people saying you want to see more Charbonnet, but 2 yards per attempt. Geno getting out and getting 2 yards per attempt. The run game, there was really not a whole lot there. I don't know. I thought maybe Waldron kind of went away from it early, but maybe it's just because it wasn't there. In terms of screens, maybe that would have been an answer. I know I've seen people in the chat that maybe the answer that they had against the Browns of more of those 3 and 5 step drops, get rid of it quickly, was more of the answer. I think that just the way that the Ravens defense was blitzing too, I don't know if there's many places where I can say if they would have done this differently, things would have gone better, other than what I pointed to earlier, and just offensively being able to sustain some longer drives early. It just having those, especially the drop on third down, just the fact that the defense was on the field so much in the first half, it wore them down quickly, and with that Baltimore run offense, it just made it so much easier for them the rest of the game to, okay, we'll hammer the rock. The defense is gassed and we'll rack up 500 yards of offense. And that's with Lamar only passing for 187 yards.
Yeah, it was, again, just a straight and overall difficult day for our Seahawks. We'll be thinking about this one for quite a long time, or actually maybe a very short time, maybe like 2 days. And we're like, okay, we play the Commanders. Let's move on and just lick our wounds here. I think the one area of the field that I was disappointed though was we got an earlier in the game first down to Lockett. Lockett started fairly hot, and we were using the middle of the field okay, like we were using it a little bit at least. And then it just went back to that thing where it's like, okay, we're just totally outside the hashes. We're super wide. We are not using the middle of the field again. And I'm sure it's partly due to what the Ravens took away. And then later when it opened back up, when JSN got some stats, it was back over the middle. Now, I guess possibly it's just the Ravens went into some sort of a soft zone at that point, and that's that. But I just wonder, like, do the Ravens just simply take away that entire middle of the field, or do we give up on it? And I think we'll have to see, what the tape shows on that.
Yeah, it's tough too, because that interior of the D-line was doing such a good job of getting their hands up, not only getting a push, but then also getting their hands up. So when Geno was in the pocket, you'd say, well, if he drops back more, but then those guys are coming around the edge at him. You can't step up because they're getting such of an interior push. The O-line was just dominated so badly in this game that, even if he was taking those short ones over the middle, the guys getting their arms up, batting some of those passes down. Again, there's no one thing that you can point to on a game like this because it was such an overwhelming domination. I don't know. What would you go to in terms of positives? Like they held Lamar to they didn't get beat deep a ton, right?
I think you're sniffing around it. Like the way that we contained Lamar when he did get outside the pocket was actually quite good. That was he had one decent run down the right-hand side, but he's going to get that. That the one where Mafe almost chased him down from behind.
Yeah.
It was actually the play before the strip sack. Mafe or a play or two before. So Mafe did really well off the edge, almost gets a sack. Lamar does Lamar things. All right. Overall, we did a nice job of containing Lamar on the ground when we did get some good pressure. That's something I think we could build on. Mafe gets a strip sack, so he gets his 6th in a row and played well. When the game was meaningful, he was still making meaningful plays. And I would say Adams, for the most part, Jamal Adams, when it was, still coming up and making some really good hits on screens and things of that nature.
Yeah, we did see
that's about it, man. And it was a little bit like, that's about it. There was a lot more bad. And I don't know, Brandon, if you want to talk, I mean, anything come to mind for you that's still a good before we maybe flip to, one or two more things that were not so hot?
No, I don't think there was anything else that was good that I can think of.
Right. I mean, I don't think so. Right. I mean, Mafe stood out again. His first jump has gotten really, really strong.
Sure.
And
Mafe had his 6th consecutive game with a sack. So that was nice to see. Samuel Gelber coming in with a $12 super chat. Firmly believe there is nothing to take away from this game. Burn the tape. And instead of 3 in, 3 out, have Clinton play a cover set list. And Sam, I am not a park ranger, so I can't tell you what I do as a park ranger.
Well, right, correct. That's just factual. And then the one piece for me that I think was maybe the worst, and I don't know if this was a little bit of just business decisions being made, being like, we're not winning this game, but our tackling was bad. Our tackling was, and this is not, we don't usually,
bad. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We don't usually have a tackling problem, but our angles and our tackling, it was bad. I don't know what,
I think the comment here by our executive producer, Ryan, says Geno is who he is, but he is good, but he has limitations. Seahawks need to do a better job of helping him, and that starts up front, but that's easier said than done given the injury struggles we've had. And really, yes, I think it comes down to a lot to the offensive line, because I think Geno, especially what we've seen over even now through a season and a half, the two things that Geno needs are a good run game, and he needs time inside the pocket. And without an effective offensive line, you can't have either of those things. And that was emphasized today because, yes, no run game, no time in the pocket. He can't be effective. And the Seahawks offense scores 3 points.
And I think you're correct that those are the things that he basically needs. And if you have to choose one, it's the line play, because that sets everything else up anyway. Because even if you're not running the ball super successfully, if they have to honor 3 yards in a cloud of dust, so it sets up play action effectively, well, fine. But guess what play action requires? It requires freaking time. Yeah, like that's what it requires. So if you have zero time back there, it is extremely difficult to execute. And again, yeah, I still think Geno is a well above average quarterback. I think he's a good NFL quarterback. The thing for me is, you could take Josh Allen when he's on fire, Joe Burrow when he's on fire. You could take Peyton Manning going into a Super Bowl with the most explosive offensive team ever. You could take a 18-0, whatever he was, Tom Brady going into a Super Bowl, trying for the perfect season. And if you just disrupt what they do and like disrupt it just throughout the game, it doesn't matter. Those are some of the best quarterbacks now, and two of the best ever to play the game that got wholly disrupted and have been in their career when their O-line just cannot hold it together for more than 2 seconds. So what is a guy supposed to do? So I'm just going to give Geno a not his day. Ravens kicked our butts everywhere, and let's just go get right for the Commanders who sold their defensive line before the trade deadline.
Christopher Stuvstad coming in, $4.99 super chat. Seems like a repeat of the 2011 team. Up and coming defense, playmakers on offense, but iffy quarterback plays. Sadly, Geno hasn't been the same since the New York Giants. I think that, and it kind of leads into the other comment too by Holy Hand Grenade. We are only down one offensive lineman. So, do you put it on the offensive line? Do you put it on Geno? And with the offensive line, you could say, yeah, they're down one, but I mean, Phil Haynes hasn't been great. No. The right side overall hasn't been great. And then you saw them kind of overwhelm the left side. They sent a lot of blitzes. I felt like Hamilton came off the left side a lot more than he did from any other side. And
Yep.
that goes back to the Shane Waldron plan for this, is that you're running an offense with 5 dudes on the offensive line. You don't have a ton of tight end usage out there. And so when they have the blitz, you're counting on your running back in the backfield to pick that up. And when it doesn't happen, Geno doesn't have enough time anyway, not able to maybe quickly recognize the read, and maybe a little bit skittish because he has thrown so many picks. And you give the hat, you take your hat off to the Baltimore defense and their game plan, because it did completely overwhelm the offense.
100, and that's it. And to me, that's it. I watched different videos leading up to the game about the Ravens defense, and I was like, okay, they're good. And then I listened to the bootleg guys talk about their coverage, saying, look, the Ravens defense is schematically the most complex and the most disguised in the entire league, like by far, that you just do not know what's coming because of how late they change things up. And it's very difficult for the average quarterback to get a pulse on what's coming play after play. So, what can you do? But what can you say? But that's exactly what I saw. Whether it was Queen, whether it was Hamilton, sorry, coming down to the box, it didn't really matter. But they were super. We saw like Witherspoon do that a couple, in the Panthers game, the Giants game, where very sneakily he's the dude blitzing, or they're running a stunt with an extra blitzer, and it seemed like the Ravens just do that all the time, and they do it really, really well. So what can you just pick up what they're doing, do a little bit of what they're mimic some of that stuff, and move on, because there ain't much to glean from this. I guess one other positive, I don't think I saw DJ Dallas go down on a kickoff, right? I don't think we sustained any other major injuries. I mean, sometimes when you take a licking, sometimes you lose 2 dudes for the year. Like that happens too. It does happen. So if I'm trying to put a little positivity,
Eric Hall would have been the other one that we saw go down and come off the field. I don't know what his status is either, though.
Well, I'm in Connecticut. They took the game off my screen with 8.
I know,
like 11 minutes to go. It was like, we're going. I'm like, well, I don't blame you. So I ended up missing almost the whole quarter. Which did I really miss it? I don't think I did.
You did not miss a whole lot. So yes, on a 37-3 loss, I think you can go ahead and skip that last 10 minutes. You got to see, I guess, more of their undrafted running back Mitchell running it along with Huntley handing the ball off. So you got to see a lot of second team offense and some second team defense for the Seahawks. And, not much to take away from this, Clinton, but thanks to everybody for tuning in. And man, even for a loss, we had over 140 people in here joining us to commiserate together. And we'll be back as we lead up now toward the game against the Washington Commanders. And that's a game that we're going to have a lot of our members of the flock at, our group game, our Military Appreciation Day game. We are looking forward to this entire week, Clinton.
Yes, I'm excited for the whole group to get out there and hang. That's going to be super sweet. So, hey, we'll talk about this game a little bit more early this week. And I think we'll quickly turn the page to that Commanders game so we can get back. Let's get mentally back on that plane and head home and get focused on those Commanders, because, hey, whatever, out of, non-division, out of conference, 5-3, whatever. It's almost like, who cares at this point? It happened and it's gone. It's done.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. All right.